welcome to Energising Life with AKR Fitness. I'm Jace.
I'm Lindsay.
I'm Mike.
Yes.
We got it on the last one.
I love it.
Hang on, I want to do this. Mike.
Jace.
Lindsay.
Jace.
Season 3. I've been dying to do that the entire time. Yeah, this is it. The wrap up of season 3. Firstly, well done. Thanks for being here and getting through it. It's another one bites the dust, as they say. How has it been? How's it felt for you? I don't all talk at once. We're only on podcasts.
Yeah, for me, I think. Excuse me. Not only have I enjoyed giving information and being a part of it, but it's been an eye opener for me, and listening and delving a little bit deeper into all 3 parts of the motivation continuum, self-sabotage, self-determination theory. I think I've actually learned more as well as being a part of it, so it's been an interesting ride.
You learn by teaching, right?
Yeah.
That's how you do it.
Definitely felt like I knew more than I actually thought I did. Once I started speaking about it and we started discussing it, and it's been a super, like I said at the start, I'm super excited for this season because it's things I hold really highly in my own life, and I think it's game changing if people can get their mind around it. How's it been for you, Mike?
Yeah, great as well. I love it as a topic, motivation. I've presented on the topic in the past. What I really enjoyed was the member interviews, because I feel they bring it all to life.
They do that I told you so moment, right?
Yeah.
So let's just, I don't want to go into each episode and recap it, but let's briefly talk about what we spoke about this season. So self-sabotage, self-determination theory, and the spectrum of motivation, just as you said there, Lindsay. Thoughts on it?
So yeah, I think the main part that we wanted people to take away from the self-sabotage piece was not viewing yourself as broken and not just giving yourself that identity of always mucking up and things like that. And so what did we have, 10? I think we had 10. Many of them were similar. Don't worry, we're not going to recap.
That's what I say.
Look
hold on here.
Where's my notes?
But just a number of ways to reframe it and say, is this blanket self-sabotage, or how can I learn my way out of this? You know, sometimes it's a bit cheesy, but like, don't get furious, get curious. So if you're continually sabotaging yourself, you're continually failing in the same way, like, let's dig in and learn something about that. What's going on there?
I think I mentioned that if you're chronically self-sabotaging, there's something else that you probably want, and you need to just dig in and figure out what it is or why it is.
Or is it is everything just too hard? You've set the tone, and it's the hurdle's too high to get over, and you just keep hitting yourself against it.
Yeah, it's just like I said this as well. Goals are hard, and sometimes your first attempt you're not going to get it, maybe, and you need a different approach, a different environment, a different lens to look through it. So
I think it's that growth mindset thing of just learning. You know, digging in, curiosity. I think it's such a valuable thing. Just
so you just mentioned growth mindset. I'm not sure if we've ever discussed fixed in growth mindset. Quickly, just sort of.
Well, there's a great book called Mindset by Carol Dweck, and her work is quite famous, looking into these 2 types of mindsets. So the fixed mindset person sees your traits and abilities as set in stone, as they were, and they tend to always be trying to prove themselves. Yeah,
it's just the cards you're dealt.
Yeah.
Use them.
Yeah. So they're always trying to prove themselves. If something goes wrong, they'll maybe blame everyone else because they can't. It's difficult to take responsibility on it. Whereas the growth mindset person knows and appreciates that they can grow and improve and adjust. So they'll look for a way to, I guess, learn and improve and do better next time.
And that probably helps when talking about self-sabotage, because you're stopping and reflecting on why that's not working, so you can find another path around it.
Yeah, so if the fixed mindset self-sabotage, then they're going to be, it's me, I'm broken, and the growth mindset person can act with curiosity and say, okay, well, what am I not seeing here? What can I look into more? And I think on the self-sabotage, we didn't chat too much about the motivation side of it then, because we had a future episode coming on the continuum. But again, it could be the approach that if the person's repeatedly going after a external motivator and that feels pressurized and controlling and stuff, that's maybe another reason why they would be sabotaging their own attempts.
Yeah.
So taking a step back, looking at the bigger picture and realising that maybe it isn't self-sabotage, the process that you have intended to do to get yourself to that goal just isn't working.
I think it's globally, if you take the entire podcast, the philosophy that we spoke about in season 1 is just, I guess, being more educated about fitness, but about, you know, human behavior and motivation. And yeah, I think the more people just go down this one way where you can say a fixed mindset, you can say external motivation, you can say short-term and extreme approaches to fitness, like that's one thing. And taking this broader philosophy into the journey is the goal and fitness is an infinite game, but then also adding in our longer term approach to behavior change and skill practice that we had in season 2, and then now introducing in season 3 a different way of viewing motivation, like the way that the research has shown it's been for 20-30 years of research, probably more, has said that motivation is not just on-off switch, but there are different types. And I think when a person can, what's the word I'm wanting, maybe like digest or understand or get a sense of this broader picture, it can change the whole relationship with health and fitness.
For me it was accept that there was a bigger picture. Like sometimes you're just set on one thing and you're not willing to open up and accept that maybe there's something else.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just like, especially with motivation, like you mentioned, it was like a fire. You know, you're either on, you're burning hot, or you're not on fire at all. You're on or off. So once you accept that there's a broader picture and more buckets to dive into and you can pull from, life gets easier.
I think as well, though, there are aspects of the not so helpful approach, you know, the all or nothing approach, we'll call it. There are aspects of that reinforce the idea that that's the way to go, which can make it harder then to see change. So again, the person who sets an external goal, they book a marathon or 10k or they think, oh, when did I get in the best shape of my life? Actually, it was when I was going to Ibiza and I had this holiday or a wedding or something like that. And because these approaches work in the short term, when they stop working, it's so easy to blame yourself and think, it's me, I just need to be more disciplined at this approach. Or more motivated, because these other people are succeeding. And so what you do is you set yet another external goal that feels controlling, but you don't recognize it, that requires extreme change. And it spoke about white knuckling, you know, like, so effort and willpower and discipline and all that. And because it works for a short amount of time before it fails, you think the failure was because of you. And
that's where
that's where I think people repeat, and they don't learn or appreciate that actually it was not even just the approach, but the whole philosophy, the whole way of thinking about it that was the challenge.
You mentioned a few times, sort of, we've all mentioned it, spectrum of motivation, different buckets. You want quick? It's been a while since I did one of them. You want to quickly recap that for us?
Yeah, I think the big thing, you know, if the listeners followed along the whole season, everything we spoke about was drawn out in the member stories. I guess they just brought it to life. So we for the continuum, we've got A-motivated. I'm not really sure if any of them had that position.
I would say Jenna.
Maybe the post running, post marathon.
Yeah.
Then we've got external goals. Then we've got introjected goals, motivation, introjected motivation, identified motivation, and then intrinsic. So that's our 6. I missed one, did I? Should we just do that over?
Eyes.
A-motivated, external. This is why we said don't worry too much about the names. A-motivated, external, introjected, identified, integrated, and intrinsic.
It's a tongue twister.
Yeah. I think it's the easier, and again, if the listeners to go back and listen to even Jill on that last episode, we could see the different stages of motivation. I think Lindsay asked her, so why what makes you get up and come in for 6:15 in the morning? And I don't know, I just love it.
Yeah.
So it'd gone away from that place of feeling like she had to exercise
to lose the weight, to feel better.
She was very much in an introjected place where I felt so bad about myself I had to do something. That was her in the past, and now she's at the stage where I don't know, I just love to do it.
Yeah.
Or again, Ryan and Jenna, it's just part of who I am. Or to step down to the identified, I love how I feel afterwards. Jill said that. She said, "Oh, if I missed my workout one day, I felt like I didn't feel as good."
She missed the 6:15 and then had to jump in the 12:15. She just felt out of sorts. Off. Yeah. Off.
And so for motivation, there's obviously the psychological values or needs that need to be met, and that's self-determination theory. And these are?
That's a sense of autonomy, competence, and relatedness.
I think if you look at the member interviews that we did as well, you can find that in everything that they said. So Jill had mentioned just having a smiley place to come into where everyone was friendly and doing the things that she wanted to do and weren't scared. So it was,
and having Mary to run with over lockdown.
I think one of the ones that hit, she said she'd gone to a gym in Denmark, and it was one of those gyms, she said, where you just go on the treadmill and then you leave. Yeah. And there was all this other kit, but it scared me. And so there was a sense, like, her sense of competence was thwarted. The word I'm looking for there. Thwarted. She didn't feel like she was able. And also it's that feel that everybody else is using the kit and that she doesn't know. Yet she said when she came here, everybody was smiley and happy. Everyone was using the kit and all the kit, and they were being coached on the kit. But what struck me was, it's people like me. It's that relating. If they're doing it, then I can do it. And I think that's one of the most powerful things, because when I used to train people one-on-one, it's so easy to say, look, watch me do this. Yeah. You can do it. And the person maybe doesn't believe. Yeah. But the power of the group dynamic is when they can see someone that they can relate to. Look, that person's just like me, and they're deadlifting 100 kilos, or they're, whatever the exercise may be.
Brilliant. And do you have anything to add to that bit?
I think when it comes to self-determination theory, like going back before AKR days for me, say I had no idea about any of this. It's not that I wasn't interested, I just didn't know that it was a thing. Probably like most of our listeners.
We don't get taught it.
No, we don't. And it's probably one of the most important aspects of getting anywhere with your health and fitness. But throughout my journey through AKR and understanding it and seeing how important it is, not just for the business or the members, but for my own life, it's just something that I'm so glad that I've had and will continue to use, which also helps me with my motivation when trying to train for an event that I don't kind of really want to do, but kind of forced into it. But I'm enjoying it. But yeah, I think in the grand scheme of things, it's an important part of life.
Yeah,
I think that there's a couple of important points I want to reinforce. One is self-determination theory is not a fitness thing.
No.
So you mentioned there in life, but so the listener, we can think about that in work. If you want a job that you're motivated in, are you getting your basic psychological needs met? Or if you're trying to motivate other people in your work, are they experiencing that sense of autonomy and competence and relatedness? And it's everywhere. Or parenting, it's everywhere. And the degree to which someone requires a feeling of autonomy will be different between individuals, and the same with the other ones. Everyone knows some people who are real social characters and people who prefer to spend time on their own, but it is a basic need. People still need to be able to relate to others, and it's relevant for all aspects of life.
Yeah, so what you're saying there is it's not only is it just important for you to feel these things, but if you're a leader of a team or a manager or something like that, to try and get other people to feel like that as well is going to be a game changer.
Yeah. Like, I'm just thinking about kids, right? I don't have kids, but I bet there's people listening that could think about this, like, you want to motivate your kid to do something, help them relate to other people. I remember listening to this story, actually. It was probably on a podcast or in a book or something. It was this guy who wanted to get his little boy good at swimming, and so he found like the best swimming coach. It was an American thing. He was like, this guy was a college athlete swimmer. and I was trying to get the guy in, but the boy just wouldn't. He just wasn't having it. And then he, I don't know, put the boy in a sports camp for a week or something like that, and just left him to it. And when he picked him up, he was like, "What were you doing?" "Oh, I was swimming." And the dad couldn't believe it, but the boy saw all the other boys his age were swimming, and so he could relate. And then also, he wasn't being forced into swimming. He had activities to choose from. He could choose to do it.
Yeah.
And then I guess there's an element of, he realizes that step by step he got some instruction, he learned how to do it. So it's definitely, okay, swimming you could say is a health and fitness thing, but it's a global thing. And I think when you start looking through it, you can see everything through that lens.
Yeah, it's just when you're saying things like that, it's when you think back, and I don't know if my grandparents had realised this or if it's just primitive for them, but can you do this? I'm like, no, I can't do that. Oh well, little Johnny down the street can do it. Oh well, all right, that's fine, let's go. I can do it then. So it's part of there's a tip if you haven't used that one already for your kids.
When you can see someone that you can relate to doing it. I mean, I think that I mentioned before, like when I went bungee jumping for the first time, one of my pals had gone. We were all on a big holiday, and one of my pals had come back and such and such went bungee jumping, and straight away I was like, he went bungee jumping, I'm going bungee jumping.
Hold on a minute.
You can watch other people doing bungee jumping, but as soon as someone you can relate to, or whatever, you think, I'm having some of that for me,
Lindsay, you got any of those stories?
Not that I can think of off the top of my head, no.
Clean ones that we can put on air.
Excuse me.
Do you know what?
There's so many of them. I'm just like, it happens every day probably.
Yeah.
Constant.
And so if you want to feel motivated, find a way to feel competent about it. Find a way to make it
relatable.
Find someone you can relate to, either as a teacher or a peer, or do it in a social setting, and do something that's of importance. Like find the meaning of the activity for you and the relevance for your own life. I think I was going to add as well, so that's one part is self-determination theory, and these theories of motivation are not just fitness, they're life. The other thing I wanted to reinforce was within fitness, what we're doing, and I hope it comes through in the member interviews, is we're not just helping someone get fit, because I think there are so many places in fitness that do that, and I think often, not always, but often that's where people get caught in these like stop-start cycles. And what we're doing is we're trying to educate and bring people along in a journey where they change their how they see fitness, their perspective of it, their relationship with it. I think that's the word of what the relationship with food and with exercise changes. And in the interviews, talk about Jill, talk about Jenna with a marathon, Ryan when he first came in, like they've all got to this stage where actually I'm doing this now not because I have to. Like when Jill's doctor said you got to stop going to the gym, she said a previous version would have been like, yes, now I've got an excuse, now I don't have to go anymore. And yet in this time it was panic mode because but that's my thing and I feel so good with it. So I think, and we've had people come in the door and on day one you say, well, what's important? Well, I want to exercise. Yeah. I want to do it. Yeah. And I think that's what we're trying to help people do, is create an environment that makes it easy to show up, but also fun and interesting, and they want to show up and want to keep coming back.
Make fitness fun and achievable.
And when people want to show up, they show up, and if they show up consistently, that's where the results come from.
So the magic is.
Yeah, the results don't come from some intense 6-week boot camp where you're eating nothing and exercising.
They come, but they'll quickly go.
I like the dentist analogy for this. You go to the dentist once, it doesn't mean you've got good teeth. You have to brush every day.
Yeah.
That's it. And so it's consistency of effort beats intensity of effort. So how do we get someone to develop the consistency of effort? Well, you create an environment that supports their sense of autonomy, their sense of competence, and in which they can relate to other people. If you do that, they're motivated to keep showing up. And if they keep showing up, then we've got a chance to educate them and to move them up through the continuum of motivation, going from that first external to actually, do you know what, I quite like doing this now. Or I'm just the sort of person that does, it's just a part of my routine. How often did we hear those words?
It's like we can't motivate you, but we can create a space where you'll motivate yourself.
Exactly. And I think
what a line.
that,
what a line.
That is the ultimate thing, because going back to how we started the motivation one is people think they're always looking for someone or something to motivate them. But this real motivation, this long-lasting motivation, comes from within. And like Lindsay said, I can't motivate you, or I could, you could do something that might get a reaction.
Yeah. You're a cheerleader, but it's going to burn out.
Yeah, but
it'll get old very quickly.
The best way, an analogy for that is like going back to kids, is you build the playground and the kids will play. That's the thing, and that's I guess what we're trying to do is build the right environment so that the person, whatever stage of journey they're in, can come in and feel motivated to come back again and again.
Powerful stuff.
It is.
Powerful stuff. Mike, do you have any lasting words for season 3? Anything you want to leave the listeners with? Come back to you.
Okay, go on then, just in case.
Lindsay?
I think even if you take one thing from the last 8 episodes, it would be to find somewhere that you feel like you belong, that you're comfortable in, and you're seeing progression.
Yeah, and just accepting, going back to like some of the self-sabotage stuff and things. What I'm just thinking now, I'm wary of making it all just sound, like if we just do this, then it's happily ever after.
It's hard.
But it's recognising that we're all still humans, we're all...
We still, in quotes, self-sabotage now.
Yeah. And still lean on external motivation, or still sometimes get pulled into that, right, I'm going to set this, I'm going on holiday and I'm going to do this extreme thing.
And I'll continue to do that.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And it's all part of it. So what we're absolutely not trying to say is just like, now here's the magic answer, because that's no different from the magic answer of all the fad diets. Yeah. But it's just about educating yourself, and I think taking a broader perspective of things, and it can make a real difference.
Looking at the bigger picture.
Yeah.
Looking at the bigger picture. Any final thoughts?
No, nothing from me. From you, Jace?
From me, it would be, if we can help in any way, reach out. We would love to see you in. If you've been a listener, come on in. Head to our website. Mike, what's the website?
It's akrfitness.com.
Oh, see, I knew that one. Lindsay, what's the hashtag?
Hashtag Energising Podcast.
That's not.
Energising Life Podcast. I did that on purpose.
Every time.
I got it right the last 3 times.
Mike, you look like you're about to tell me something. Not really. I was just, if someone is listening, they want to reach out, we're always, we can have a chat and take it from there. Yeah.
Get them in for a strategy session.
Yes, love to meet you.
Absolutely. All right, folks, that is all from us for season 3. Thank you so much for listening. If you could please share, subscribe, give us a rating and a review, share it to your stories with the hashtag
Energising Life Podcast.
Energising Life Podcast. And for everything else, it's our website, akrfitness.com, and we will see you back for season 4.